In this episode of making a fursuit from scratch, we are finally beginning the crazy Herculean task of furring the head. We have a finished foam base, and then now we need to go ahead and start the journey of actually getting the fur on it. If you're totally new to this channel, what we're doing is we're building a fursuit from literally scratch. In the very first episode, we built a ref sheet, and in the final episode, we built a full plush box suit. It's like this really cool activity where we take your feedback from the comment sections and then ask you guys questions, and then together we build a fursuit. It's really cool. So in this episode, like I alluded to, we got to finally start the fur, and the way we do that is we're gonna go ahead and add felt to the mouth and to the ears, and we have to fix up the nose. Basically, that's gonna be really where the fabric starts. You need to get this kind of base layer down first, and we can do that before the fur shows up. We're still waiting on that to ship. Before we start actually talking about furring the head, let's go ahead and talk about the nose. It was one thing that we left off from last week that I mentioned I didn't glue down. Before we do any of that though, if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the algorithm so much. I appreciate you guys' support. I don't want you to miss an episode. Now, the nose. In the previous episode, I mentioned not being super thrilled with this nose. I don't know what quite bothers me about it. It just feels a bit basic. I wanted to go ahead and do a quick round of iterative design to see what we should really do with the nose before we go ahead and glue it down, because it's the only thing that isn't glued to the head. I started out doing something a lot bigger and just super basic to get an idea, kind of playing around with the idea of what if we want like a huge nose. I wanted to clean this up. This looked okay. I just wanted to get a better idea to kind of clean it up, and I did something like this. This I think is better-ish. It's more like basic canine, so I felt like it went away from the fox aesthetic. So I ended up cleaning it up and then making it a bit smaller to give it this shape here. The nostril holes kind of retain that same 90-degree angled bottom. I like it a lot. It almost ended up feeling exactly to what we started with, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Sometimes you get it right on the first time, and that's not that bad. So what we need to do now is go ahead and glue this down to the head, and that'll be literally everything finished. And just like that, we've gone ahead and attached it on. I'll come back to you guys once this is all dry. I have our otter friend here to serve as a good example of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about adding the felt to the mouth. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the tongue. I'm talking about the felt right here on the mouth, like actually in the head. When thinking about building a fursuit, it's important to think inside out to outside. This is the innermost piece that kind of everything else will be on top of that we have to start with first. So when we bring it back to our suit, I'm talking about adding one big huge piece of felt that goes all the way across this, like on the bottom as like a big V shape. I think we can do it all in one piece, all the way from here to here. And then we can do the inside of the mouth with like a inverted taco shape. It'll be like a big U on top. These pieces don't need to be super precise. We're gonna add a kind of trim layer in between the fur and it, so it'll cover up the edge. But we still wanna do it ideally in as few pieces as possible so it doesn't look like there's any obvious seams. There unfortunately isn't any real trick to this process. What we're gonna do is just kind of a lot of trial and error, but one thing that can speed up this process a lot though is what we're gonna do is pattern out the entire bottom. Patterning is really easy once you get the hang of it. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a little tiny strips of tape. I'm just using regular old duct tape. And we're gonna put the strips of tape everywhere that we want the piece of fabric to go. And then once we have very nice and neatly kind of made our entire pattern piece, so let's just say this piece of tape goes here, and we'll do the tape all along here, all along the other side. We're gonna then take it off, trim it to make it sure it's really nice, and then place it on our fabric and cut out the template on the fabric. I'll show you the whole process. Once we have that done, we can just put the piece of fabric where the tape used to be, and it should match up one-to-one. We'll of course need to do a little fiddling here and there, and it's never quite perfect, but it saves a lot of time when compared to just regular trial and error. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead, tape up this entire mouth so it looks super nice, come back to you, and I'll show us taking it off and then putting it on the fabric. So there is our finished pattern piece. We've gone ahead and taped the entire thing up. Next, we're gonna very carefully take this off and then place it on top of our fabric. So let's go ahead and cut this out now. Something I want to talk about while cutting this out is how much longer it takes to make a fursuit than people realize. I think we're all really used to watching like major fursuit makers on Twitter and Instagram stuff just like pump out suits like once a month. And man, that expectation is just so unrealistic for your first couple suits. You have to remember, you're learning so many new skills while making these. Like unless you're coming into this with like a crazy craft background, like every single step requires almost learning a completely new skill, and that just takes a lot of time. And the unfortunate reality is there's a lot of trial and error too. Here's a good question I have for you. I'm never quite sure how to do these kind of two-stage patterns. Do you think this piece here, the second layer, should be another piece of fabric? I'm not sure. If anyone has any advice about that, please let me know. What we're gonna do is just gonna cut it out and then just eyeball the inside of it, because it's not gonna be a huge deal because it's gonna be way inside the mouth. Like I was saying before though, man, making a fursuit is very difficult, and I don't care what it looks like. If you've actually finished a suit, I'm damn proud of you. It's so cool. I'm gonna quick cut this out, and then let's go ahead and see how it looks when it's on the suit. Hopefully you can hear me over the downpour of rain, but we've gone ahead and finished the bottom of the jaw with the felt. We just gotta go ahead and repeat this process on the top using the same process. So I'm gonna pattern it all out and then just fit the felt in there. I'm also gonna add just a little bit of glue on this just to keep it in place while we're getting all the work done. There is something I wanna try new though for this video. In the comment section below, I want you to ask me a question that you're interested in being asked. And the next video, whatever the highest rated of your comments is, I'll go ahead and put that name and that question, that profile pic up, and I'll go ahead and answer that question. I think it's gonna be a fun way to add more kind of your feedback into this project. So in the comment section below, ask whatever question you want, and in the next video, I'll go ahead and answer it. In the meantime though, I'm gonna go ahead and knock out the felt for the top. It's gonna be the exact same process. You guys don't need to worry about it. I'm gonna come back to you with hopefully all of this just kind of felted together. And then real fast, I wanted to show you a piece inside the head that if I don't mention, it'll be really hard to show you in the future. So I'm gonna turn you guys around and point you at the bottom of the head. This is the muzzle. And then if you look here, this is where your human nose goes. I'm gonna take this diamond piece here and then place it the inside the head like that to protect the human nose against the foam. It's just a little tiny touch that we can do just to make wearing the fursuit so much nicer. And then finally, to cover up this last little bit of foam on the bottom of the lower jaw, we're adding this little tongue piece that hopefully you guys can see. It's like a little V shape that's just gonna wrap around that, and on the back of the throat, that's just gonna hide that little bit of green there. And that'll be the final jaw felted done. Look at that muzzle. I don't know about you, I'm thinking that's looking really good. I was kind of worried about it at first, and I'm sure you guys know this, but man, after you're looking at something for a while, you kind of go crazy and you can't tell if it's good or not, but I think it's looking pretty darn good. So I'm gonna go ahead and call the episode there. I think we made some pretty good progress doing the felting on the mouth, and truthfully, we're just kind of waiting until the fur shows up. Previous episode, an eagle-eyed viewer spotted that we had missed the carving on the muzzle right here. So off camera, I quickly knocked that out. And then I want to reiterate from earlier, if you're making one of these fursuits at home, it's a really long process. For the next step going forward, once we get the fur in, we really can just start taping stuff up and cutting out fur pieces and start patterning it all together. We're probably going to focus most on the ears first. I don't know why. I'm really excited about it. I have some really cool ideas that I want to show you on how we can do some really cool ears. I just really want to know if they work out, so I'm excited about that. So taping up the ears and furring them will probably be the next big step. After that though, we got to do the face and muzzle, and we'll probably make that like 2 episodes. And then it's just gonna be a lot of real small tasks, like the back of the head and then the shoulders and then the teeth and the eyes. I think honest to goodness, that might be it. It's still a long ways out there, but we can actually see the end of the head on the horizon. And then we have the rest of the suit, but we're not gonna worry about that. We're one step at a time. I'm really happy with the progress that we're making. It does kind of feel like this project's taking absolutely forever, but I think it's important that I show you guys literally every step. It feels like a lot of the fursuit tutorials on YouTube just end up being a big long collection of sped up video, and I don't think that's very interesting to watch. I think it's just cool going like piece by piece. And just a quick reminder, whatever the highest rated comment that you guys put at the bottom of this video, we'll answer in the next video. I think it's really important for me to interact with you guys as a community because you guys give really good advice. You got the muzzle thing this episode, and last episode you gave great advice with the ears. I think that feedback is really important. I'm trying really hard to listen to you guys. So if you haven't already, please like the video, comment, subscribe, do all the things. It helps the algorithm. You guys know it. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next week.